that I took to the repair shop this morning. The one the repairman is currently taking apart. The room went silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then, slowly, the laughter started, the kind of hysterical, lung-straining laughter that only comes after a brush with total social and financial disaster. Well, Stanley Roper grunted, turning toward the stairs. Are we eating, or are you three gonna stand there cackling all night? I'm starved, and Helen's been talking about her sister's gallbladder for 3 hours straight. I need a drink and a steak. As they followed him out, Jack put his arms around Jeanne and Chrissy, pulling them close. They were perpetually broke. They were living on the edge of a cultural misunderstanding, and their landlord was a walking disaster. But as the theme song that played in their heads suggested, they were company. And in the neon-soaked, unpredictable world of 1970 Santa Monica, that was more than enough. Chapter 6. The Grifter's Polyester Promise. The dust had barely settled on the great rent money fiasco when Larry Dallas made his grand entrance into Apartment 4. Larry was a man who lived his life in the fast lane, or at least in a late model used sedan with questionable mileage. He was draped in a polyester suit that shimmered with a subtle, oily sheen, the kind of fabric that would probably melt if it got too close to a toaster. Jack, my man, I've got a deal that's going to change your life, Larry announced, ignoring Jeanette's icy stare and sliding onto the sofa as if he owned the lease. The last time you changed my life, Larry, I ended up hiding a puppy in the bathroom and feeding it marrow-bone jelly, Jack replied, leaning against the counter. Larry waved a hand dismissively. That was peanuts. This is the big time. I've got a line on a crate of imported French silk scarves. Genuine silk, Jack, from the fashion capitals of Europe. Or maybe New Jersey. The label was a bit blurry, but they're magnificent. We sell them at the Regal Beagle, 50-50 split. You provide the charm, I provide the logistics. Jana stepped forward, her floral shop scissors in hand, looking like she was considering using them on Larry's tie. Larry, we're still recovering from your last logistic miracle, and Jack has cooking school. He doesn't have time to be your sidewalk salesman. It's a side hustle. Jana, a little extra dough for the pot. Larry winked at Chrissy, who is currently trying to figure out if silk came from spiders or worms. Spiders make webs. Larry, do these scarves look like webs? Chrissy asked, picking up a sample Larry had tossed on the table. Only to a fly, honey, only to a fly. Larry grinned. Jack, however, was already feeling the familiar pull of Larry's infectious, albeit dangerous, enthusiasm. He looked at the silk. It did look nice. And he still owed Larry $25 from a poker game that Larry had definitely cheated on. Maybe just a few. Larry, just to see how it goes, Jack muttered. That's my boy. I'll drop the crate off tonight. And remember, tell them they were worn by the royalty of Monaco. It adds a certain Genie says coy. As Larry breezed out, leaving behind a faint trail of cheap cologne and broken promises. Jana turned to Jack. Jack Tripper, you are a walking disaster waiting for a place to happen. If you end up in jail for selling stolen silk, don't expect us to bake you a cake with a file in it. I wouldn't need a file, Jana. I just charm the guards. Besides, it's French. It's sophisticated. But the sophistication was short-lived. That night, as Jack was organizing his inventory, the puppy now officially named Trouble by everyone except the Ropers, decided that the imported silk made an excellent chew toy. By the time Jack realized what was happening, half of the Monaco royalty collection looked like it had been through a paper shredder. Larry is going to kill me, Jack whispered, staring at a shredded scarf that was now mostly puppy droppings. At least the dog has good taste, Chrissy offered, trying to be helpful. The blue really brings out his eyes. Chapter 7, The Dentist and the Demon Tooth. While Jack was dealing with his silk disaster, Stanley Roper was facing a far more literal pain. His toothache had graduated from a dull throb to a rhythmic, agonizing pulse that felt like a tiny construction crew was using a jackhammer on his jaw. Stanley, will you stop moaning? Helen shouted from the kitchen. I can hear you over the blender, and I'm not even using the blender. It's the big one. Helen, this is the end. I can feel the infection moving toward my brain. Stanley wailed, holding a bag of frozen peas to his cheek. It's moving toward your wallet, Stanley. That's what you're really worried about. Just go to the dentist. I called Dr. Miller. He can see you at 6. Dr. Miller. He's a sadist. Helen. I saw him once in 1958, and I'm still traumatized. He uses tools that look like they belong in a blacksmith shop. Stanley, you're a grown man. You faced the German army, or at least you told me you did while you were stationed in Nebraska. You can face a dentist. Stanley eventually relented, but only after Jack, sensing an opportunity to get back into Roper's good graces after the silk incident, offered to drive him. You're a good kid, Tinkerbell. Stanley grunted as they climbed into the Chevy. Even if you do wear aprons and talk about Basil too much. The waiting room of Dr. Miller's office was a tomb of silent agony. Stanley sat in a plastic chair, staring at a 1974 issue of Reader's Digest as if it contained the secrets of the universe. Every time the high-pitched whine of the drill echoed from behind the closed doors, Stanley jumped 3 inches off his seat. Relax, Mr. Roper. It's just a filling, Jack said, trying to suppress a grin. Easy for you to say. Your teeth are probably made of porcelain. Mine are historical artifacts. They've seen 3 wars and 2 depressions. When the nurse finally called Mr. Roper, Stanley looked at Jack with the eyes of a condemned man. If I don't make it back, Jack, tell Helen she can keep the dog. But tell her I never liked it. Inside the operatory, the reality was even worse than Stanley's imagination. Dr. Miller was a large man with hands like hams and a bedside manner that made a drill sergeant look like a kindergarten teacher. Open wide, Stanley. Wider,